Hello and welcome to another episode of the ShareTech Podcast. And today we have myself, Jose, Crane, and Josh. And today we're going to be talking about we got a bunch of forwarded emails from a couple of our clients that the FBI has sent a warning, a credible cybersecurity threat, to dental practices. And I'll go through a brief just summary of what they're talking about. And what they're seeing right now is in the previous year that there was a ton of targeting of plastic surgeons, and now this same group with the current threat is focused on oral and maxillofacial surgeons, which could also then graduate to just dentists in general. Cyber criminals often use social engineering scams such as phishing, SMS, ishing, as they say, or text or instant messaging apps, and vishing, which is using phone calls and voicemail to gain access to sensitive personal data such as
That's my
EPHI,
favorite.
yeah, such as electronic protected health information, or EPHI. And another, one of the examples they pose, it's a great example, where a threat actor proposes as a new patient or a potential new patient, says they want to become a patient at the practice and obtain new patient forms online. Once the forms are then received, the threat actor will then contact the practice saying they can't submit the forms online. Can I just email them to you? And the threat actor will then email the forms as an attachment. And when they are opened, it is malware deployed in this phishing scheme. It's a great example of what can easily happen. And to kind of go through, from my own perspective, that is such a good example because there's so, like, in most dental offices, things are happening so quickly, and there's so much to do as a as the front desk person, as anybody potentially handling new patient intake, that this could just easily happen. And so one of the best ways to protect from this stuff is to do basic cybersecurity hygiene, which would include things such as having antivirus, having malware detection on your computers, malware detection in your email infrastructure. I can bet that a lot of people might read this email, send it to their IT group, and say, "Hey, what are we doing to protect our email accounts?" I'll let you guys take it away to talk more about, what kind of things dental offices need to be doing to protect themselves from stuff like this.
All right, I'll bite, Sid. It's great that the FBI sent this out. This is something that everybody needs to be monitoring, these sorts of alerts from somebody, FBI, the CISA, whether it's the government, local, or private third party notifications, just to be aware of when there's an uptick in something, or when someone in an adjacent industry has been attacked or compromised. It's great to be aware, because this can facilitate the kind of conversations that need to happen about training, awareness, sending an email to your IT department saying, "Hey, how are my emails being protected?" This is a great conversation starter. Like you said, the boots on the ground, nuts and bolts. You got to have some kind of, this is very tech driven, obviously, more than the people and processes that we talk about a lot. But yeah, well, what's your antivirus software like? Can your antivirus software detect a maliciously modified PDF file? I'm imagining these are probably PDFs in the email. When you download it, is it being scanned when it's downloaded? Is it scanned before it's opened? Are you going to open it, the malicious software deploys, and then your software detects it? That's an important question to look at. Where in the chain is this being scanned and detected? Do you have an email sandbox that's running this and you never see the email, right? That would be the ideal situation if this gets caught by an email filter flagged as malicious. Along with that, something that I'm constantly preaching to people is to have notifications set up. If there's an email that comes and it gets flagged and it's got malicious software, like, somebody should know about that, because you want to connect the dots from, I got an email, like, someone's going to say, well, I didn't get an email from John Doe. I was expecting him to email me his forms because he couldn't fill them out the way we normally do it. And for IT to say, oh, I have his email here, it's malicious. This is flagged. Verify, yes, indeed, John Doe sent us malicious code. Now we know we're targeted by phishing. Now we can go send that reminder email to everybody. Be aware. Be on the lookout for this. And this is important, I think, for the IT's perspective. It shows value for the IT and the security department. You can go back to the boss and you can say, I prevented an incident here on this day. You almost got hit with phishing, ransomware, whatever it was, and we stopped it. So now we have an ROI, right? A return on the investment. That's my 2 cents.
Josh, first of all, look at your beard. It's gone. I mean, it's there, but it's gone. It's clean.
It got hot up here in New England.
It got hot.
I had to reduce. Yeah.
Woo! Looking good over there, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what to Josh's point? Absolutely. It brings the awareness up tenfold just because you see FBI and notification in the email that they sent out. So you know, we have in our normal day jobs, we have a number of clients that actually forwarded emails to us that were expressing concern. And, you know, my answer to them was, you know, before the FBI ever thought of sending this out, we always had that as something we would protect from. You know, like we weren't necessarily sitting idle, just waiting for the FBI to tell us that oral surgeries and dental practices are under the radar of a ransomware attack, because we've seen it in the wild. We've been a part of a few, Sid, where they definitely target anyone, and especially, you know, smaller mom and pop facilities that they know, you know, they're making a specific amount of money. You know, they know they're a dental practice, so they got to be making money, right? Like there's got to be some sort of financial backing there. Or a small oral surgery practice, which even a small oral surgery practice is going to have, you know, they're going to have a good financial backing. And so they've always been a target. And to us, we've always known. Even it's funny, like when they sent these emails to us these past couple days, you know, just to let us know that the FBI is letting them know. I thought to myself, man, you know, we were involved in a number of infiltrations at an oral practice, a few oral practices, where, you know, there were ransomware attacks, and those offices were completely and utterly shut down because of the situation that was occurring. So this was what, Sid, 10 years ago? I mean, so, you know, we've been there, done that. And it is good, though, as Josh was saying, that it brings awareness to everybody, and it brings it back to the forefront that you're not safe, no matter who you think you are, no matter what industry you're in, that you need to put precautions, or you need to have precautions and barriers in place to protect yourself from these types of attacks and intrusions at all times. It's not just specific times, it's all the time.
And to keep going with that, you know, in the email, the FBI recommended 4 things, or I should say precautions to take. Number 1, teach your team to recognize and avoid phishing. That's huge. And I think that, you know, we can also, in the example that I highlighted, or I should really say the FBI highlighted, it goes a little bit beyond that. It's not just how to avoid phishing, but also how to recognize and have some sort of confirmation that this is a real new patient, request, if that makes sense. Just purely communicating via email. It's a good looking Gmail account. There's nothing weird about the email address. There's nothing weird about the manner in which the email was written, stuff like that. Is there another way to verify and validate that this person is actually trying to become a new patient of the practice? Maybe it's, hey, can you give me your phone number so I can call you, right? And if they don't respond, then what?
Voice
If they keep-
verification.
Yeah, some sort
Yep.
of some sort of verification right there. Because this type of scheme is brilliant. Again, I go back to that idea that dental practices and what the front desk staff has to go through on a day-to-day basis, they can be trained on how to avoid good phishing, or like semi-obvious phishing, let's say. But when it's a really good fish, you know, having a procedure in place to verify.
Like a salmon. Like a
Exactly.
salmon fish.
Yeah, like let's
Yeah.
verify it
Tuna.
so that that the whoever it is actually trying to become a new patient, and we're not getting into an actual phishing attempt right now. But with that, there's more in these precautions that the FBI recommends, and one of them I'm going to skip down to is update all business software. Let's just say that everything happens. The verification might not happen, maybe it does happen, and the person on the phone sounds real, etc. And then email gets sent with a malicious PDF. Having fully up-to-date software on all your machines is going to help prevent any actual malicious activity. And can you guys discuss what kind of just examples of what that looks like? Just having up-to-date software, how that prevents malicious activity from happening when you do download a potential malware laden file.
Well, I see Josh's brain turning over there. I see it like twist, like I see him thinking. And on a high level, obviously keeping things patched and updated and up to date will prevent known vulnerabilities from being exploited. So if you have a known vulnerability, you need to shut it down by putting that patch in place. That is a bare minimum, I think, a bare minimum essential that your IT needs to be administering. So in terms of software, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole because it's Sid, Josh, all of us here on this call know the realities of an office. There's offices that we administer that do not utilize a software that is up to date. So some of that stuff, I mean, they're probably utilizing components that are known to have vulnerabilities. I mean, I know for a fact, one office I'm thinking about right now, they utilize an old version of MySQL. Well, if you go online and you search MySQL and vulnerabilities, you're probably going to find a few if you haven't updated it in 10 years. So that begs to ask the question whether, that type of software, number one, a practice isn't going to change their software if they've been using it for a long time. It's going to take a lot for them to do it. I should rephrase that. It's going to take a tremendous move of earth, wind, and fire for them to actually get the motivation to move and migrate and do all this stuff just because of a security concern. And I know I say that like that, but it's the truth. Like, it's going to take a lot more than just explaining to them that, hey, you may have a potential vulnerability. You got to move your entire EMR system over to something that's actually being updated. So then you think to yourself, well, how do I keep myself secure if I already know that I have something in place that has vulnerabilities? And that's when, things come to fruition like segregation, segregation of systems, segregation of networks, computers, users, permission level changes, things that would control and basically sandbox that type of scenario. It's not easy. And I'm saying it like it's easy. It's not easy. IT companies battle this battle every day, but it's something that you should be doing, something that you should be thinking about. And it's something that should be brought to the attention of the practice manager and, of course, the doctors. Josh, I know you've been over there chomping at the bit, man.
No, that was good. Man, patch management's like a battle with everybody because patches break production, then you can't do them, and then you end up with a legacy system 10 years old because if you update it, it breaks your entire workflow.
Yep.
And exactly, you end up segregating things. But even just patching antivirus software seems to be pulling teeth sometimes. I get alerts.
No pun intended, right?
I won't name names, but I get alerts every couple days from a couple clients with their antivirus telling me it hasn't updated yet. It didn't successfully update. It's out of date. It's old. And then I got to go look and say, you got to reboot this machine. But one thing that something like this does, we talked about just the awareness, is it brings the awareness. IT, as Jose's pointed out, is always aware of this. They're always working at it. This brings the awareness outside of the IT and into the management, owner, executive level, whatever terminology you want to use. This is a good chance to, if you're medical, if you're a dentist, oral surgeon, look with your security officer, your privacy officer, I hope those are named people in your company, and say, how's our HIPAA compliance going? How is our HIPAA compliance helping us be protected from this? Because that's the whole idea. I know we say a lot, compliance isn't security, but that is the idea, is that having this compliance security framework in place at least gives you the tools for this. So patch management's a process in that, telling how it's done. Security architecture is a process in there. How do you put your IT system together in a secure way? Two things that Sid skips the recommendations were MFA, strong passwords. Those are explicit in the HIPAA rule for where you put them and how you use them. Resiliency is a huge thing in HIPAA, right? So
backups.
It happens. It doesn't get detected. There was a vulnerability present and everything works in your worst case scenario. How do you recover? Well, you should already have that plan in place if you're following the HIPAA security rule. So this is just something to bring that back up to everyone's mind. Say, well, when was the last time I dealt with my HIPAA? Have I done it this year, last year, 5 years ago? Did I fire the person who I tasked with that responsibility?
Yep. Brings up all those things that you should be on top of. Backup.
Those things, yeah, they fall by the wayside, and they don't get. It's easy not to maintain them, right? You set it up, it works, and then there's a system change down the road, but it wasn't a big one, and it gets missed that it affected backups, and then suddenly backups aren't backing up what they're supposed to. We see this. If you've ever been in like root cause analysis meetings or fault tree analysis where there's something doesn't work, and you go back through all the steps. Well, what changed? Why didn't this work? And it's almost always, I shouldn't say almost always, very frequently there's a communication breakdown where somebody changed something, not realizing that there was an effect on another system, and there's your root cause. There's part of your chain.
People process.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm sitting here just kind of thinking to myself, but the only thing I can think is the one, and you guys may agree or disagree here, but the one thing I do think, it's good. The FBI has posted something. They've made everybody aware, people that pay attention to those things. That's a great thing. However, any awareness is good awareness, right? So anything that's posted that's positive towards the good fight, which we're here talking about and trying to fight, is good. However, even in this FBI document that they sent out and alert, it doesn't. And I think I may be getting a little bit lost in the weeds here in terms of what I'm trying to articulate, but it's good that they put it out, but in a sense, it's like one quick shot, right? They're not going to continue putting out advisories every week, every month, every 3 months. They're just not going to do that. And so the industry, and if you go and listen to an ISACA podcast, which I don't, obviously we listen to other podcasts, and ISACA is one of the ones that comes up in my mind of where I listen and, I pay attention, and I like to listen to our peers and go back and forth and kind of do things, I get ideas from other people. And so one of the things that a lot of the other security individuals that have podcasts talk about is consistency in the message. And it's all good when you get that, that one big blip, they're like, hey, we know this is coming, we know this is happening, or it's possible and it's high probability. And everybody gets all up in arms and they're running around with their hands up in the air and they're like, Jose, Josh, Sid, what can we do to better, to do things better, blah, blah, so on and so forth. And then it's a big like firestorm at first. And then because the consistency in message doesn't continue, it dies off and conversations die off. And things start to get back to normal, and the message isn't there anymore. And so I think everybody here would agree that things are like quick, you got to catch. I think you've heard it in the media a lot, like
recency bias.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, man. Like it catches fire and it's important and it's, let's do it, let's get it done. And then 2 weeks from now, it could be all that fire goes away. And the FBI no longer, they move on to critical infrastructure, or they move on to, something else that's not involved with what we do. So it just, the message isn't consistent. And I appreciate that email. I appreciate that bulletin. And I appreciate when people send that stuff to us, because that means that they care and they want, they want to portray and make sure that they have things in place that don't, that would protect them from something like that. But in the end, I think the message gets drowned out and then it goes away and the fire goes away and things go right back to the way they were the day before we received that message. And it's probably up to us to continue that fire, like to continue those messages, to continue sending that information to them so that they can realize that it's not just the day the FBI says, hey, you're in trouble. It's every day. It's every day that you should be doing things to protect yourself. It's every 3 months you should be having, cyber training in your office, or some sort of, training that continues the good fight, the process that's in place that people get used to, and it becomes a mechanic to them. And Sid, you were going down the path there when you were talking about, we know the front desk person that works at a dental office and at an oral surgery. they're busy as can be, man. But if you can make it a habit to make that phone call. I know they're busy, but they'll add that to their day. They'll say, okay, end of the day or at 3 o'clock or whatever. They'll put it in on their to-do list and say, let me call back these people and make sure that they're legitimate and that they are people that are actually trying to get into the practice. But that, that takes consistency, and that takes training, and that takes, caring. You got to care about it too. And the doctors and the office managers and the executives, like Josh said, they all have to have buy-in on it, man. And it's got to be something, a 10-minute meeting at the beginning of the day, or something to where you say, you go through all your business, what you want to do on a business scale, and all your levers of what you want to reach, and all the accomplishments that you want to do throughout the day. But you also want to say, hey, look, a couple minutes in here, you say, hey, look, don't forget to make those phone calls. Don't forget to make sure that we're keeping an eye on, senders and emails that get through that aren't necessarily something that we're waiting for. It's just, it takes consistency.
You bring up a good point with the consistency.
Yeah.
Couple things I at least want to throw my oar in. Basically, it's slight disagree with you on the everyday element of it, because having worked in facilities, job roles where you heard the same thing every day, the same reminders every day, people just start tuning them out, and it actually misses things if it's too frequent. But I think you're hitting the nail on the head, though, for the consistency. And I want to go way back to what you said at the beginning, where it goes back to normal. Because I think that's the key, is that if an organization thinks normal is ignoring security, they're not having regular security meetings with IT, with their security practitioners, with managers, then yes, like, they have a problem, and they need to be reminded that this is a 24/7, 366 on leap years day issue. But what you want as an organization, what you were going to, Jose, is where the organization's day-to-day remembers that security is something to keep an eye on, that there's regular, consistent training, whatever that frequency may be, that there's regular reminders, that there's a person or people tasked with maintaining the security, that they're working on that every day, every week, every month, going through maintaining the system. And that becomes your baseline day-to-day, where it's always part of your business, it's part of your core competency, as we used to say. And you get those layers. So, right, the apprentice person working, boom, 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 you don't want them to have to remember, oh yeah, at the stand-up briefing today, my manager said, look out for phishing. I'm going to go on my own and call this person. What you want is the process to already be there. So they're following their process, and their process handles the verification. The process handles the gap when they as a person, because we're human, make a mistake, because people make mistakes. No one is perfect except for God. And you got to plan for the mistakes. Right. Then you get the process level. The process catches some of those mistakes, and then this can be a process failure, because no process is perfect. Hopefully the technology catches that, and then the technology isn't perfect, and sometimes it makes mistakes, and then hopefully again a person or the process catches again. So you got to layer everything through, like Swiss cheese. That was the government model, the Swiss cheese. It's a hole in Swiss cheese. Every slice of Swiss cheese has a hole in it, but if you stack up your layers of Swiss cheese, you eventually hit a slice of cheese. Yeah. So all about, security layers. And then you're not, I can't imagine working somebody where every morning someone's said, don't forget about cybersecurity, don't fall victim to phishing. But someone that says, remember your policies, let me know if you have a problem, a place that's very supportive where someone could say, hey, this email looks weird. And it says, okay, well, timeout. Send that email off to whoever our IT security people are, have them look at it. And then that's a different person, a different process, different technology. Because I get this. People say, is this a phishing email or legitimate? And I look at it and it's, like a new customer email. And I say, well, there's no malware present in it. It looks normal. Do you know a person in this country or at this company? They say, well, it wasn't who I normally talk to with them. Reach out through the secondary channel, verify, oh, it was a new accounts manager. We're good to go. Or we don't know who that person is, so we're going to wait for them to call us on the phone and say, where's our money? We're not going to respond to the email. But that's a very positive security outlook where even if the person makes a mistake, it's a false positive, that's a win. And I think that's a very different mindset than a lot of people, a lot of business managers that I've dealt with in my time doing security that look at false positives as a waste of time, as a failure of the process. Now, that's a win. Yep. It was a win because we caught it. And maybe if there's too many false positives, then we talk about the process.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, a false positive is a win because it means the process is working as intended.
Yep. Means the behavior's in place.
Yep.
And security is a pillar of your business. That it's something that's taken seriously, even when you're not even thinking about it. It's just a process. It's a behavior.
Yeah, exactly. And how many businesses, not just dental offices, but how many businesses do we deal with that we're lucky to get FaceTime with an executive twice a year?
Yep.
Instead of, every quarter would be great. Every month would be perfect. Every week would be fantastic because then you're going to get the dividends, the ROI that Sid's always talking about.
Yep.
Where it becomes part of the business to consider this.
Yep.
And so to conclude, kind of takeaways here, at the bottom of the email, I wanted to bring this up. At the bottom of the email, they reference the ada.org has a page dedicated to risk management. And I think that for everybody's trying to do the right thing in this world. I say that with a grain of salt, obviously, but everybody's trying to do the right thing. Everybody's working hard, and has life to live. But at the same time, there's a reason it's there on the 8A website that they reference it. They talk about emergency disaster recovery plans, incident response, etc. It's all in. I'm tying it back to the HIPAA security rule, and I think this is a really good time to ensure that within your offices you review your HIPAA policies and make sure they line up. Make sure that if we wrote them 5-7 years ago, they still make sense. Make sure that the training is up to date for all of your employees, and just be vigilant and aware of what you have and what you don't have anymore, especially with the new age of AI, right? AI is such a hot thing right now, and while it's being used for good, it's also being used for bad. And they cite this, like the FBI cites it in the email too, that artificial intelligence in cybersecurity in the health sector, it could be another target for the AI enhanced threats, right? So it's a good time. It's always a good time, but given that the FBI has sent it, going back to Jose's recency bias concept here, now is a great time to review all that and make sure we have everything in place, have the policies and procedures in place to make sure that we are ready for anything that could be happening, based on, again, what the FBI sees as current hot activity.
And just to chime in on that, Sid, for an action item for listeners, when you go and review the policy, make sure that everyone who's responsible for that policy knows what to do, what the policy requires of them. And I bring that up because we've seen incident response plans that say, so-and-so manager will be responsible for responding to incidents. And then that's like essentially the policy. And so then you ask that person, what are you going to do when there's an incident? And they go, I have no idea. I don't know what to do, because the policy doesn't tell them what to do. Doesn't tell them what the expectations
no
are.
longer there.
Or that person, oh yeah, we fired that guy like 3 years ago.
That's why I bring up this is a great time to just review it.
Just, yeah. No, I agree. That's what these one-off reminders are there for, is to get you, oh yeah, it's been a little while since I looked at that. It's been a hot minute. Let's go back and look at it. And I just, want to remind people that whatever policies you have should be followable by the people who are assigned. You shouldn't have to invent incident response when there's an incident ongoing. It should be enough in there with the policy, enough in there with the training, that people know what to do. And if they don't know what to do, this is a great time to figure out what you're going to do. And that's risk management, risk assessment, all that wonderful, wonderful risk things we always talk about.
Thanks for watching another episode of the SureTech Podcast. If you got value out of this episode, please hit the subscribe button below and hit the like button. And for extra credit, hit that little bell so you get notifications anytime we post on YouTube. If you want to get in touch with us, if you have a question, if you have a topic you want to discuss, please leave a comment in the comment section down below, or you can email us at info@suretechnologies.com, and we'll see you on the next one.